My boss announced my coworker's promotion during our team meeting and everyone clapped. Then he looked at me and said, "Some people just aren't leadership material." I nodded, closed my laptop and walked out. What he didn't know was that I'd been interviewing with their biggest competitor for 3 months. Got the offer yesterday. Double my salary, VP title, and I'd be managing contracts worth more than his entire department's budget. I spent 6 years at that company. 6 years of arriving early and leaving late. 6 years of being the person everyone called when something broke. The system crashed at midnight. Call me. Client threatening to leave? I'd handle it. New software nobody understood? I'd learn it over the weekend and train everyone on Monday. I trained every single new hire that walked through our doors, showed them the ropes, taught them the systems, made sure they didn't drown in their first month. Half the department wouldn't know how to process a basic contract without the guides I created. I had a whole folder of documentation that I'd built from scratch because nothing existed when I started. Fixed every crisis at 2 a.m. when my boss was unreachable. And I do mean every crisis. There was the time our largest client's data got corrupted and I spent 14 hours straight rebuilding it from backups. The time we almost lost the Henderson account because someone missed a deadline, and I drove 4 hours to deliver documents in person. The product launch that nearly failed until I caught a critical error nobody else noticed. Covered for him when he took those long lunches that turned into golf afternoons. Everyone knew. His calendar would say client meeting, but we all saw the golf club bag in his car. I'd handle his calls, manage his emails, make excuses to upper management. He'd come back smelling like cigars and tell me I was a real lifesaver. My performance reviews were always excellent, but somehow there was never room for advancement. Every year, same story, glowing feedback, comments about being essential to operations and the backbone of the team. But when it came to promotions or raises, suddenly the budget was tight. Suddenly there were no open positions. Suddenly I needed to be patient and wait for the right opportunity. Meanwhile, Jordan got promoted after 18 months. 18 months. The guy who still couldn't figure out our database system, who missed deadlines I had to quietly fix, who took credit for work he barely contributed to. His big accomplishment? A PowerPoint deck I built that he presented to the board. I spent 3 weeks on that presentation. Research, data analysis, projections, graphics, everything. Jordan's contribution was reading my slides out loud in a conference room and adding one joke that fell flat. 2 months later, he had a new title and a corner office. When I asked about my own promotion last year, my boss gave me the talk. You know the one. He leaned back in his chair with that patronizing smile and said I was too valuable in my current role, that the team needed me where I was, that I should focus on being a team player instead of worrying about titles. He actually said titles don't matter. This from a man who introduced himself with his full title in every meeting. So I smiled and went back to my desk. Didn't argue, didn't push back, just said I understood and closed his office door behind me. Started sending out resumes that night. The new company flew me out twice. First time was a standard interview. Second time, they wanted me to meet the entire executive team. Their CEO told me they'd been watching our industry for 2 years, looking for the right moment to make a move. They specifically wanted someone who knew the inside operations, someone who understood the contracts, the clients, the systems, someone who knew where all the bodies were buried. They weren't just hiring me. They were hiring my knowledge, my relationships, my 6 years of being invisible while holding everything together. I gave my 2 weeks the morning after that team meeting. Typed it up in 5 minutes. Short and professional. My boss called me into his office within an hour looking genuinely confused. He actually said, "I thought you were happy here." I told him I was taking a VP position elsewhere. His face went from confused to pale in about 2 seconds. He asked where. I smiled and said I'd tell him when I sent the transition email to all our shared clients. Jordan found out first, saw my LinkedIn update during lunch, and came to my desk looking panicked. He tried to play it casual, but I could see his hands shaking. Half his accounts were people who specifically requested to work with me. People who had my personal cell and emailed me directly instead of using the company system. Now, I'm 30 days into the new job. My office has windows. My team actually listens when I talk. Nobody takes credit for my work because my name is on everything. Sent partnership proposals to 4 of my old company's biggest clients last week. Not poaching, just business. 3 already responded asking for meetings. My old boss has called twice. I let both go to voicemail. Jordan's LinkedIn now says he's exploring new opportunities. And yesterday, my new CEO asked if I knew anyone else worth recruiting from my former company.